And now, here's the host of the Recovery Alley, Jeff Neenstead.
You know, I got to change that. I don't know why I always put Jeff, but this is Marcelo. I'm about to introduce the Towman of the Year, Jeff Neenstead. However, this is Marcelo from Wolverine Productions. I want to thank you all for, first of all, signing on this live stream. We have a special guest tonight, Tasha Mora, who is the legislative chair and first VP of Southwest Tow Operators. And then, of course, you have Jeff Neenstead. So without further ado, I want to bring Jeff in so we can start the show. Thanks again for watching.
Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. I hope everybody's had a great and a safe week. Tonight we have Tasha Mora. That is Tasha, the tow lady, handler of all things towing. Very impressive woman. Tasha's got a strong passion dedicated to advocating for the industry. Her communication skills are phenomenal. She's just a great leader. She's our first vice president at Southwest Tow Operators. She also serves as our legislative chair. And let me tell you what, she's sharp, guys. She's really sharp. She owns a co-owner in A&A Towing and Recovery in Austin. She's got a lot of background in towing. She's on the TDLR advisory board. She's up there making sure they don't pull any shenanigans. So she's up there looking up, and then basically she's like a Wonder Woman. She's like a Wonder Woman with a golden lasso. You always want her by your side when you're fighting. She will definitely fight with you. Let's go on and bring Tasha in and get going with this thing.
Hello.
Hey Tasha, how you doing tonight, man? It's great to have you on this evening, man. And I wasn't even lying. You are like a Wonder Woman out there. So I met Tasha, I guess it had to have been 2019. We're Southwest Tow Operators helping with, I think it was House Bill 61, had to do with the blue lights and stuff. But that's why I first met Tasha. There's one thing I noticed about Tasha when we got to the Capitol and actually got to our committee room. When she walked in, you have people in the world that when they walk into a room, they kind of command respect. Tasha is very professional. She carries herself very well. She's extremely intelligent. So I had to sit here and watch this woman. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get up and talk. And we got people like her here, you know, and it was great. I've been really lucky. A lot of people at Southwest Tow Operators have taken me under their wing. They taught me the legislative process. Tasha, you've been a big help with that. So how many years of experience do you have with advocating and lobbying and stuff?
Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, let me say I really am excited and appreciate being on the show tonight, Jeff. That was a pretty spectacular introduction. I thank you for that. I do remember the first time that we met in 2019. We had not ever met each other or talked, but we knew that we were there for the right reasons and a great cause. And we were passionate about what we were doing. And we just wanted decision makers to hear us and tell our stories. And so that was the beginning of a very great friendship. And our careers or side careers, volunteer careers in advocating for the industry and doing what's right all the time. So it was great to meet you, and I'm so glad that we did. And I'm so glad that we're still connected and doing all the great things for our industry. How many years of experience do I have in advocacy and lobbying? I think I'm going on 30 years. But it didn't start with towing. It started someone really special in my life just needed someone to advocate for them. And I didn't understand that's what I was doing. I just knew that I was asking for what that person needed, make their life the best it could, keep them healthy, and find the people who could help do that for that person. And so I started about 30 years ago with advocating for my son. Excuse me, my voice just cracked. for my son. And I will say that I was a parent who wanted the most and the best and wanted to find the best. And you've got to be very curious and ask a lot of questions and find decision makers, especially when you're in a position where decision makers are making decisions for you, your family, your businesses, your livelihood. You want a seat at that table. You want to be in the space. You want to be in the room. You want to serve water if you have to.
No,
Just
mostly
be
because if you're not at the table, you're on the table.
absolutely, absolutely. And I will say that I'm a back up a little bit just for some of those who may or may not be interested. So my husband and I, our second child did have special needs. And so when he was born, he had a life expectancy of not past birth, certainly not past a year, and not past 5. 5 was the no man's land for us. And so if we knew we were just going to have this amount of time, we needed to find the resources to give him the best quality of life that we possibly could. And this was just uncharted territory. We were one of the very first people that we ever knew who had a disabling condition in the family. And our son actually lived to 24. He recently did transition. However, 24 years was much longer than anyone ever thought that he would live. And I give that credit first to above, and also to all the doctors and all the teams and all the specialists and the relentlessness of finding the people who could help us give him what he needed. And this was a child who could not speak. So did not speak. So if he needed something, you had to learn at a human level how to connect and how to listen and how to see if my words and my actions resonate and what worked. And so I carry that same technique now. We have to always remain very curious as to if we need something for our industry, what are those who will listen? What do they listen to? How do they speak? What's important to them? What resonates? And a lot of time that's just studying and listening and being in spaces and watching people online and getting to know your audience. That way you can deliver for all those that we're representing.
So now we know when you started your lobbying and advocacy and stuff. So well, let's get to how long have you been advocating for the towing industry?
Towing industry has been 22 years. So my husband and I have had our company for 22 years. We do all towing, all types of towing. Specifically, we provide private property towing. And so having to be able to provide that and demonstrate to decision makers that this is a necessary service and it can be provided professionally. We had to raise that bar very, very high. And as we were doing that, I just saw, as we were running our business and kind of learning as we go, like many small businesses, there was just a lot of decisions that were being made that affected our livelihood. And it was frustrating. And so it was so frustrating. And we were in a place of complaining, perhaps, like, oh, why is it this way? It's been like this for years.
But see, Todd, this is the deal. What you just said, we're complaining. And so we have people out there, and people need to understand this process, because we have people out there that all they want to do is complain about it. And every session, we are begging people to go to the Capitol with us. And we hear so many complaints that, if you want that real change, you want to facilitate real change, you've got to be there. And I don't think people understand it. I don't think they understand the time that we put into this. Luckily, we're only in session every other year. But the stuff that's going on, the in-between year, preparing for that session, luckily I haven't had to, but I've heard the stories of y'all being at the Capitol till 11 o'clock at night.
Yes.
What we need is every time we go to the Capitol, everybody put on their high-vis shirt, their safety vest, and we want to see you at the Capitol so you can help us advocate for you. You've
Right.
got to be part. You've got to be part of the solution, or you become part of the problem.
Absolutely. If you want a remedy, it's one thing. I believe that complaining is when you talk about something to people who are not decision makers, right? And you just keep saying the same thing over and over again. However, galvanizing change and finding a remedy is when you learn how to become part of a group and be active in that group to go speak to decision makers. And so we're all thinking independently so we can make decisions together and listening to what the pain points of the industry are, but also come and tell your story. Why is this a pain point? What is happening? And the decision makers want to hear the story. They're not necessarily interested in someone else speaking on our behalf. I will tell you that I show up to the Capitol, and you know I showed up in my blazer and my suit the first couple of times, and then it occurred to me that I dress that way because I respect the space that we're in, but I don't think that the decision makers realize that, yes, I ride in that truck, or I was riding in that truck with my husband. We're raising kids in the industry. I've slept on the floor of my office. I've worked 36 hours straight because I perhaps cleaned up too much. And that was an aha moment. I will say that when Jeff showed up and he had his high vis on and he had his work cap on, and he went and he spoke to legislatures, they listened. And we need more people to come out. I know it is in Austin and it can be a drive, but it's that temporary sacrifice that one has to make to be able to show that we're numbers. There's a lot of us, and they do listen. I want to say that they listened very closely when we were able to bring in family members who testified and provided testimony regarding how their family members had been struck and killed while doing their work on the side of the roadways, and also firefighters who had been struck and survived but lost his leg and showed his prosthetic leg to legislatures. And so people will listen, and you want to be part of a group that we can come together and figure out what is a united message.
I mean,
Come together.
you're talking about House Bill 898, which is
Yeah.
our move over reform bill, and she's referring to the committee hearing that we were in. And I'm going to tell you what, a lot of people missed a beautiful thing. I've never been involved in a hearing like that before. First of all, we had Terry Canales was the chair of the board, very no nonsense man, and you saw what he was doing on the other bills. You get 2 minutes. You get 2 minutes, and when you get to 2 minutes, you're done. And our first witness to testify, Tristan's mother, Jackie Cawthor, she got up there and she said, "I didn't realize that we only had 2 minutes to tell our story." And she says, "There's no way I can tell you my story in 2 minutes." And Terry Canales looks up and says, "Ma'am, you have all the time you need." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. And I remember looking at Sherry because I was supposed to close that day. And I looked at Sherry and I said, "Ooh, I ain't got nothing." I mean, it was an amazing thing. But that's what we need. We need and not just because somebody was struck and killed, because there's people that are coming after our businesses. Like you said, they're making change, they're making rules. And if we're not in that space and we're not part of that, they're going to run us over. It takes people like Tasha. Tasha is beaten down the door all the time. And it's just, so how would you prioritize the legislative issues we're facing here in Texas, just as a state? Now remember, because we've been waiting for this. Now we've got the FTC deal going on the junk and excessive fees. And Ron Myers has been telling people, we've all been telling them about the waterfall effect, right?
Right.
So let's talk about our challenges that we've got coming up for the towing industry just in the state. We're not even talking federal right now.
Right. So the priorities are going to be based on what the towers are saying it's a priority. So first things first is plug in. I am asking all of those who are in the industry, plug into your associations and provide feedback. Or what is the pain point? What keeps you up at night? Is it tow operator safety? Is it your financial survival, inflation, changes in technology, public perception? Public perception is going to tell the narrative, and we have to change that narrative. So I'll back up. What is it that keeps you up at night? And those are your priorities. Those are the priorities of the industry. And so we have to come together. And so when we have think tanks and groups or legislative conferences or meetings, even websites. So you could go to your local association, your state association, and contact them and let them know what the pain points are, because we are trying to collect the data from our members, the towers, not anyone who is related or has some involvement with the industry, the actual towers, and find out what is it that keeps you up at night and what are the priorities. And so that we can then decide which window do we need to go to. I think one of the most confusing things for me as I was learning, and remember, we are volunteers. We are business owners who are doing this in our extra time, and we're learning as we go. But learning what window. For example, when there's frustration because perhaps you provide services and you are regulated by the state and then further regulated per municipality. But then there are actual laws, so there's statute, and it's deciding or learning which window should you be voicing that concern. So what we try to help our members do and towers do is say, we hear you, we see you, and this is this area. So that is a true problem. We're with you. We're hearing more towers, more owners say this. We're seeing it happen. And so now dividing that up and deciding, okay, what is our approach and how will we address this? And some of this can be addressed at a departmental level. For example, in Texas, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, and some of it has to be addressed legislatively within statute. And so plugging in and finding someone that don't be afraid to ask a question. I will say this. The biggest mistake that one can make is to voice a concern or a complaint, but not be active in the remedy or in the solution. Carry that with you, bring that same momentum and that same passion and those same pain points, and let's do something about it. We cannot do it with just a few members carrying the weight. It's got to be all of us. And I think that there's some folks that are listening online, and I encourage you to go, shameless plug, Southwest Tow Operators website, and go send us a message, right? Let us know. And if it's not Southwest Tow Operators, but you're part of another association in a different state, or even your local associations, be sure to voice these so that way we can hear, what does the industry need? What does it want? We have collected some legislative priorities through our last legislative conference. We're going to have another legislative conference coming up. And also the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation has their strategic planning sessions going on. And I think Monday may be one of the last times that you can either go online or be in person and talk about what's keeping you up at night. Talk about what you want to see changed. And that's a lot of data collection. And so we're in tune to all of that and pulling that together and deciding now,
it's
what
just
do we
like
do with
what
this?
you're talking about, Tasha. It's like when it comes to presidential elections, right? So I don't think you have the right to bitch if you're not going to vote. You're not going to vote. I don't want to hear anything. It's the same thing here. And I might make some people mad, but you know how I am, Tasha. If you're not going to be involved, it's like Tasha said. We've got a board. Got 7 or 8 people on the board. We do have some very active members that step up, but we need to show up at the Capitol with 100 people. I'm going to tell you what, if myself, you, James Bennett, Gary Hoffman, Greg Joyner, Renee, David, all these guys. We've all got companies. We've got very well established companies. And we've got an eye on us. People know where we're at. So we have to really mind our P's and Q's. We have to coach our employees and tell them, hey, look, this is the way we need to be represented. So we can't do it alone. We're trying to get more people active in the association. I think it kind of irks me a little bit that people can't see the value in an association. I mean, this is nationwide with towing associations. So that's just something we're gonna have to overcome. But how do we? Let's talk to them about how we stay updated on changes and stuff going on with legislation, or even how they can follow it.
Right. So we make sure that we have just superior lobbyists, we have superior attorneys. They are plugged into all that is happening and going on legislatively, and also staying curious as well. So perhaps you're in your city or your county and plug into who are the people that you service. So plug into their associations, learn what's coming down the pipe, for them as well. And so that we can make sure that we're getting as much data collection as possible. Now, if you're on the early stages of this, what you can do is subscribe to the email blasts that go out for your associations. Go to the websites. When there's a call to action of showing up at the Capitol, show up. And it's okay if you don't know how to navigate it quite yet. Show up, and we will take you under our wing, and we will also guide you through the process. There are a lot of us that are wanting, if we could each bring several people, and if you're interested, please do contact us. This is not empty promises. Is not. We want to hear from you. We're being asked right now, what does the industry need? Even rules for storage facilities are being looked at right now. Rules for the towing part of that are being looked at right now. And if we don't know what the pain points are, and we know what many of them are, but we need numbers. We need many people helping.
I don't know if you just saw that, but Barb's on. Barb says hi from New Era Towing in San Antonio. Barb's been active in the association. She's been to the Capitol with us. She sacrificed that time, sacrificed a drive. So I just real quick wanted to butt in on you, and I wanted to say thank you to Barbara for what she does. She's been on our committees for our legislative stuff, and that's what we need. We need people that want to be heard and want to fix the things that are going to be a problem with us as we go through day-to-day business. And again, if you don't want to get up there and fight, there's things that are going on and you need to know about them. And there's that one way to know about them is that association, because you're privy to a few things that other people might not hear being part of an association. And we've kind of touched on what would you say to industry members and owners and operators about being involved in the legislative process. I never realized how important it was. And then I was kind of quiet for a couple of years. I did my part when I needed to. And I watched y'all operate, and I started asking questions. And poor Sherry, our lobbyist Sherry, I text her and I'm like, hey, Sherry, technology app, we can't do that. I'm like, well, why not? Well, because this is why we can't do that. And I tell you what, I could have made a real ass of myself at the Capitol. But everybody at Southwest Tow Operators kept me in line. They taught me. So this is a really, really solid, good group of people that are going to teach you that process. And once they teach you that process, and you start getting that niche, you start understanding, you would not believe the value you have to help.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And there's just the more of us that come together and we're able to just tell our stories and educate. I think a lot of this is a lot of education. There's aha moments that happen. Developing relationships also with decision makers and representatives and such. And so it's really important. You may know someone, your kids may go to school with them, and you just don't realize how valuable it is, and don't realize that perhaps they don't know enough about our industry. And so use that as opportunities to be able to educate them because they may be told a narrative that's coming from another direction. Perhaps a bad experience someone has. Bad players in the industry, and that's something that we're fighting against ourselves. It's just knowing that we work really hard to be able to provide a service, and it's a necessary service, and then we work really hard to defend the service, and 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 we're doing this because there are, like every industry that there is on this planet, bad actors. And so we are in a position now where it's just we want to stand against that. We also want to stand against any type of company who is not going to be transparent, who is going to create make it very difficult for those of us who are working as professionals to provide our services across the state.
Yeah, it's a tough gig. Like you say, you talk about the bad actors, and one of the big things, one of the big challenges we have, whether on a state level or on a federal level, is because we don't have the involvement we want from our industry. The legislators really don't understand what we do. I mean, sure, they see a tow truck picking up a broke down car. They see a tow truck and there's an accident. And they see them, but they see a heavy duty wrecker, picking up a tractor trailer, but they don't understand what we do. All they know is, I don't know, something happens, you call a tow truck and they fix the problem. Um, it's just like Mark Dennison right there.
Right.
The association can empower you and educate you on how to overcome local issues. And Mark Dennison, he's out of the Humble area with on-site towing, extremely, extremely intelligent individual. Mark can answer a lot of questions. She's really tuned into the towing industry. So let's talk about, walk me through one of the situations that we successfully influenced or contributed to some type of legislation that was passed that benefited the towing industry.
For sure. So I think that the bills that were proposed by STO. So of course, we have the slow down, move over bill is making sure that we increase the penalties for those who don't follow the bill. Now, those who are striking first responders are not slowing down. They're not moving over, increasing those penalties. Also, we have the cargo bill. So, we're wanting to continue to work on that. I think that there are bills that were in place that were introduced by others. And the biggest work that we have is that we were able to squash those bills, kill the bills.
Because that's the other thing. It's not just about getting bills passed. There are so many bad bills that come across, and if you don't have the people like Sherry that are up there digging. I mean, last year they brought the we called it the mandatory mediation bill.
Right, right.
And these are bills, I mean, that were brought to the floor, and this bill said if you had a recovery bill over $20,000, it was in immediate mediation with the cargo or the carrier. Now, you go back 10 years ago, and if you had a big recovery, you might have a $12, $14, $15,000 recovery. We fast forward a decade, with the price of equipment, rotators at $1 million, a good 50-ton trucks run you $750,000. Insurances went up 33%.
Right.
And now we've got them telling us Well, they're trying to scare us away from charging what we're worth, is what it is.
Right.
So
Right.
that bill right there would have caused havoc if you had a company, an owner, or a manager that did not know how to correctly navigate a heavy duty recovery scene. And that's what you get. That's what you get when you get into this whole deal. We've got people that are specialists in this and can
Right.
teach you how to walk through a recovery and maybe not have the problems that somebody else is going to have with the insurance companies, because the insurance companies are their job is to pay as little as possible. And we hear it almost on every recovery. We get paid on about 50% of our heavy duty recoveries. You call the insurance company, and the first thing you hear, yeah, we got coverage issues. We got coverage issues. So it's a continual fight. And Tasha was talking about some of the wins. The move over law. There's just, you can go to Southwest Tow Operators, you can look back on everything we've done. But we've got a lot of challenges coming to us. And it seems like the towing industry, a lot of people in the towing industry was like, kind of like the ostrich with the head in the sand. It's going to go away. And we've been
Right.
telling people for years, it's not going to go away. And you know what? It's right in front of us right now. And now we have to do something. And it's people like Tasha, like Mark Dennison that was on, that are up there at the Capitol that are fighting for the industry. And again, we can't impress this enough. Become involved in your association. It's like a treasure chest for you. I mean, so we got Tommy Anderson, our executive director. Tommy drops everything, answer. It doesn't matter whether you're a member or not. He goes to links to clear stuff up for people and let them know what's going on. So
Yeah.
uh
Well, and I'll say this is I know that it's a commitment. I know for some business owners, it's a commitment to be involved, to show up, to put a pause on the business. I mean, the business is still running, and for you to physically be out and be supportive. But I tell you, everyone has their story. Everyone has their story as to why it is difficult to show up. And I've not shared this except for a very small group of people, but I can still remember 2 sessions ago, we were at the Capitol, and it was a very sensitive time in my personal life with my family. So our son was on hospice, and we thought we were getting closer to end of life. Um, but I understood that the decisions that were being made that day affected specifically the work that we do. And so I was able to make some arrangements, and I stepped away to come in and plug in. And I showed up. And so that's the grit we're looking for. The industry is full of hardworking people who have that grit and do what it takes, right? And we need to also apply that to being part of an association, legislative work. Find it in you to make that commitment and come out and not allow other people to do it for you. Because I'll say this, we're a great team of other people who are doing the work, but there are those outside of our industry who are writing the narrative of our work, our worth, what we should charge, whether we should be further regulated. And we have to change that narrative. And the only way to do so is to be involved. I cannot stress it enough. Everyone will have their reason, but I'm telling you, if I could make that sacrifice, you can make your sacrifice. Make the sacrifice. Otherwise, we're going to pay it. You're going to allow other people to write that narrative and make decisions for your livelihood. And all of those who work with and for your company. I mean, one of the greatest things that I can see is, well, we're trusted to provide this work. We're trusted to have a company. We're trusted to provide careers for our team. We're trusted. We're trusted by our clients to provide transparency. And so I respect that responsibility. And if we want to continue, then and provide jobs and careers for those, I mean, we've got to galvanize change. We have to be able to articulate and demonstrate our worth. And part of articulating it is first we've got to collect the data. We cannot be afraid to share our data. We're as an association, we're looking at ways that how can we get owners to share their data where, okay, so there's some privacy to that and there's non-disclosures, but we have to be able to collect the data and say, listen, this is what it costs. Because some people are willing to, but we have to be able to bring those numbers. Numbers speak. Numbers speak.
People look at us, and me personally, most of my money goes into my equipment. This industry has done everything I have, everything my children have, started with this industry. And I love what I do. I do. But
it shows.
It's like we had Jose Vasquez said put him in a truck, let him know what you do. And it's kind of funny he said that because I had the honor of going to Oklahoma and helping the Oklahoma Record Owners Association. They were having issues with their move over law, and that's exactly what I told the legislators in Oklahoma. I said, go to a record service near you, ride with them. See what happens. And I told him, if your mind does not change about this law, there's something wrong. But that's exactly what I said. Unfortunately, it's very hard to get a senator or a state representative to go ride around in a tow truck. Hence, we need your help. We need you to show up. They need to understand what we do. And it's like Tasha had said, and Tasha's an extremely sharp woman. And I noticed the change in her attire that she was talking about. Still very presentable. But show up. It's like I do. I want people to know who I am, what I do. So I show up, high vis, I've got work boots on, I've got work pants on. And I'm going to tell you the coolest thing, since I've been going to the Capitol, there's been several times I'm walking through the halls of the Capitol, a state representative that has been on a committee that I testified in front of, and they just kind of walk up, shake your hand. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? And I don't even know who this guy is. Hey, Jeff, how's that bill coming along? And so it's a very cool thing to be involved in. And I just don't think, every time I get up to testify, and I don't know how many times I've told you this, on Saturday mornings, they used to have the cartoon on how a bill was passed into law. So I'm literally up there testifying, and the only thing that's going through my head is that little bill jumping around on the TV screen,
Yeah.
So it's a very cool thing to be a part of.
I see Jose Vasquez saying he needs one of those shirts that she has, that Tasha has. I'd like to tell the story about this shirt. It is faded. It is years and years and years old. It started because we rush ordered to make these shirts. Of course, the back of the shirt has our company logo on it, and it reads, "A life depends on it." So we made these shirts because we were doing the American Towman Spirit Ride. So we were one of the companies that was going to carry the Spirit casket through the Austin area. And it was an amazing event, and it was to raise awareness and such. And so then I began to wear the shirt over and over again. So if I'm talking to media, then I'm going to wear the shirt. And I've considered ordering a new shirt that's not so faded, but I will wear this shirt until there are holes in it. I unfortunately have worn this shirt to visit people who have become great friends of mine who have lost their loved one. And I showed up to the funeral services with this shirt, and they don't know who I am, but I just felt like I needed to pay my respects. And so when you see this shirt has been with the Spirit Ride. It's been at funerals. It's been at the Capitol. and I will continue to wear it until it has no color in it. And maybe we'll hang it in the office one day. I don't know, but it is more than a shirt. It is so real. But whatever you do to raise the awareness, do it. To raise, and not just for the slow down, move over, but to educate people about what we do. One of the challenges that we're facing right now locally, I would say, is being further regulated. So of course, the work that we do is, private property work, and so it's regulated by our state, and then it can be further regulated per municipality. And the ordinances are written in a way that can sometimes be challenging, but there should be TOFI studies, for example. So that way, if this rate needs to be adjusted, it can. And what we're trying to explain to people is the impact that if we cannot have our rates adjusted, for example, then it is going to be very hard to attract the workforce. The towers that have been in our industry for a long time, they're great, but attracting the new people, the new workforce. And so I'm asking people to join this career, and I'm asking them to service these roadways and there's liability involved there, but I'm paying the most that we can, but our rates are regulated. And then they're further regulated per municipality, and explaining that as inflation goes up, so do our costs. And we are the industry that it's very easy to overlook and think, but we don't want you all to be profitable. We are at a point where we're saying we are wanting to pass this to our teams, our workforce, but how can we attract new people if our rates are then further regulated? And especially, like, I'm from Austin, and we're just having this huge influx of people moving to Austin. And so our highways are full, and trying
Tasha,
to make it to scenes.
Even dealing with all that, but I mean, you in the private property industry, you see
Yes.
it, you see it more than I do. I mean, we got to fight with the insurance companies, but because of what you do, and it's like you said, it is a needed service. Okay,
Absolutely.
unfortunately, we talked about bad actors.
Right.
So I'm a kind of, because I know you're good at it. I mean, can I put you on the spot? So
Sure.
you have in the past, and mind you, there is a sign that says "Do not park here. You will be towed." It's the International Towway sign. It's very easy to read. You probably, anybody with a ninth grade education can understand. If I park here, I may get towed. So you end up with some complaints, and
Right.
you end up in court trying to justify. And I don't. I'm sitting here saying trying to justify what you did when there's a sign there that says "Don't park here."
Right.
So, I know, I'm pretty sure you're probably batting 500. I don't think you've lost that many. So, in your end of the industry, I mean,
Okay.
how do you do what you've done when these people come at you with these complaints?
Right. It goes back to your credibility, building your credibility, making sure that you're following all the laws and the rules, and doing the right thing even when no one's watching. And then document, 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 document. Like, be transparent. And so it is a service that people love to hate. We're talking about the private property work, right? So it is a service that people love to hate, but it's an absolutely necessary service. So you're talking about safety violations. So people are in the fire lanes, and the emergency vehicles can't come through if this may be a mobile home community or an apartment community. And so it's just making sure those areas are cleared. We have our handicap spaces, so making sure that the person who resides there can gain access to their home. And so if someone's not authorized to be on property, then removing those vehicles. And it is an education piece. Being able to, you have to be, let me back up. I get a little tongue-tied at the moment because that is my passion, is demonstrating there's a necessary service. It is private property owners' rights. It is a service that can be fully compliant by law, but it still pushes the emotional button. And unfortunately, the level of complaints that come in is because an emotional button has been pushed and it's a narrative that's been given. And so making sure that you're absolutely transparent in the work that you do, building credibility, being part of groups that also can utilize your level of expertise. And I think that's key, is who else needs this service? Who are we servicing? And going to those groups and learning more about them and explaining how everything is interconnected. And so if you want to exercise your private property rights, then we'll also allow us to provide this service. And we're going to be able to do it within these parameters. I'll tell you this, most people who get to know me, most people, I would say, like me. And I let them like me before I let them know what type of work I do. Because the moment I say, yes, we do towing and we do private property towing, they're like, oh. But because I've already gained their confidence and demonstrated professionalism and showed them that we work with transparency, and they trust. So you have to build the trust, and in order to do this type of work.
It's definitely a tough corner of the industry where you're at. Real quick, our producer Marcelo does work for Tasha, does work for me, does work for the association, and I always like to give Marcelo a chance to plug his work. So real quick, we're gonna look at a promo from Marcelo, aka Wolverine from Wolverine Productions. There it is.
Good work.
Wolverine Productions. I tell you what, y'all looking for anything, go on and get in touch with Marcelo at Wolverine Production, promo videos, websites. This guy is a monster SEO guy. We that's a whole nother show. We're getting to the spot where we're down to the last 10 minutes. Marcelo, can you throw up we want to talk a little bit more about the legislative conference that's coming up in June at the American Towman Tow Expo. Our legislative conference is going to be, I believe, on the June 22nd. It's going to be Saturday morning, 8:30 to 11. Tasha will be leading the meeting. So real quick, Tasha, let's talk some more about what we got upcoming in Fort Worth this year.
Right. So we're going to be at the American Towman Tow Show. And so on Saturday morning, if you can make some time to come out and join us from 8:30 to 11. And I will say this, write your questions down or get them down and send them to us so that if you're not wanting to ask a question, I get it. You might be a little gun shy being in front of people, but we want to hear from you. And that is a commitment that we make. We are the Association of Towers for Towers, and we're listening to what you are needing for the industry. And also, if you are interested in being involved and or have someone else that you would like to recommend that they be involved, please do. And we could take a big jump step and be involved, or small steps. Now, we gotta talk about the elephant in the room. We're all business owners, and I think that we should be able to talk about finances. We have to help fund our associations, whatever association you are part of. But it's important to be members because those membership dollars go straight to funding the efforts and paying for lobbyists, paying for our attorneys, paying so that we can do data collection and hire outside sources. And so it comes from somewhere, and it comes from all of us. And so whatever your level of membership can be, I am asking you, go to the website, check out the level of memberships that are available there. Every dollar that you contribute, and even if you can contribute above your membership, would be great. Because we're gonna put that money to work, and we're working hard. We're
We
working
even
hard for
now,
our
even
members.
if you don't want to be a member, but you still want to support,
Yes.
it'd be great. Now we have a reoccurring monthly donation that we do. I mean, if we took um every towing company in Texas, and if they would pledge $100, $100 a month. I mean, it's a small ask, small give, um, to keep this fight going. Because it's like Tasha said, man, we got bills to pay, and without membership, without donations, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So we really need it. Um, the legislative conference is a great deal. We have door prizes, we have all kinds of stuff. We have a little bit of fun. Also, this year at the legislative conference, once we're done with the legislative conference, we're going to have a meeting. We're going to have Ron Myers, Brian Walters out there. We'll have James Bennett with the National Open Highways Safer a National Open Commerce Safer Highway Coalition. It's a group that we've formed to help fight the FTC rules coming, and to try to facilitate some real change in the industry. Not just what we're looking at right now with the FTC, but looking at insurance caps on policies, the stuff that we deal with on the recovery side of the industry. We want to be the voice for the industry on a federal level. So definitely make time to come to the legislative conference. It's a little early in the morning on Saturday after a Friday tow show Friday night. But we
But
make
you
it
can
there.
do it.
We make it there every year. We make it
Yeah,
there
we
every year.
do.
We'll have coffee and some stuff to eat when you get there. But make your plans to be in Fort Worth. And I think the show starts on June 20th, I believe. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be bigger than ever. There's a whole lot of stuff that's been added, but the most important thing is to show up to the legislative conference so your voice can be heard. And it's like Tasha said, if you don't feel like talking in front of a room, um, look, you're going to see us there. You're going to see Tasha. You're going to see me. I'm going to be bouncing all over the room. If you don't feel like asking the question yourself, hey, look, write it on a piece of paper, fold it up, walk up to the table, hand it to Tasha, hand it to Brian Walters, our attorney, hand it to me. I'd be glad to ask a question for you. Nobody can shut me up anyway, so you might as well give it to me. So it's going to be a great deal, and we can't impress on you enough to become an active part of your association
Right.
to help us help you facilitate real change in the towing industry here in Texas. We've covered quite a bit of stuff now. So just real quick, is there anything else you want to add, Tasha?
That was it. I wanted to make sure that we talked about our legislative conference that's coming up. Also, anyone who's in the Texas area, TDLR is having their strategic planning sessions, and I have to say that it's time to also voice at that level as well. So you can go to the TDLR website, and there's some information. It's important that the industry voice what's been working and what has not been working, and so we're hitting things from all different aspects and directions and such. And so I know I will be on the Monday. I'll be at the Monday meetings, and I'm wearing the hat of a tower. Like I own a tow company, and these are the things that I see are working, and these are the things that I see are not working. And I'm also going to be there to listen and hear what everyone else is saying. I want to hear what the industry has
You
to
know,
say.
Tasha, it's a very valuable thing that she does, being on that TDLR advisory board. If you've got issues, you've got a problem that you see, something with she's the woman to go to, because she's right there. It's like I said, she is literally like a Wonder Woman when it comes to this stuff. She's all over the place. I don't know how she does it, but somehow she does. So again, she I've learned a lot of stuff from Tasha just watching her.
And the feeling is absolutely mutual. I have to say that when I don't do a lot of heavy work. You know, I can impound something off private property, right? That's heavy, but listening to all of those that are in the heavy part of our industry, I have learned so much, and I do a lot of listening and a lot of asking and just staying curious because I didn't realize the challenges that were going on there. And now what I'm seeing is some of the challenges or even the terms that were once only used about the private property industry and part of our industry are now also being used for our commercial and our heavy work and recovery work. And so it is, we are all in this together. I want to make sure that we all and each respect the type of work that we each do, because we can gain from one another and staying curious, learning about the heavy world. And now with the new FTC issues coming through and hearing the language that was once used in one area of our industry and fighting that now being used in another area of our industry. It's time to change the narrative. And I have to say this: there are some big dollars behind all of that, and so
Oh
it is
yeah, I got,
we
we talk about the FTC. The it's so broad. The rule is so
it is
broad,
right.
and there's people out there that might not be doing police work, might not be doing recovery work, and they're worried. I'm not worried about it. It's not. It's not gonna affect me. Well, I hate to
Right.
tell you, they're not just coming up after non-consent tows. They're going after consensual tows also. That's when somebody makes a phone call, it's it's going to impact everybody. And I hate to tell you folks, there are people out there still today that do not think this FTC rule is going to affect them. All I can tell you is we've seen the legal analysis. You better back up, you better do your research, and you better get ready, because it's going to affect you. I don't care if you're interstate, intrastate, light duty, and it's not just heavy duty. They're coming after light duty too. So I mean, it's going to
Right.
impact the private property industry. Is going to the consent tow, non-consent tow.
Right.
It's all over the place. That's why it's so important. Again, we got Barbara Christensen on. She's the president of the Utah Association. She's also working with us with the coalition. She is a so when I nominated Barbara, and when I talked to Barbara, I called Tommy up and I said, Tommy, she she's kind of like a Tasha. I mean, she's sharp as a tack. And it's crazy that I now I've got both of you. And Barbara, I've talked to Barbara about some stuff we got going on in Texas, something they
Good.
conquered with her association in Utah. And she's willing to exchange some information and some language and stuff and see if she can help us out with one of the bills we got coming up next year. But look,
Right.
we've run out of time tonight, Tasha. Again, thank you so much for making the time. I know that you were probably breaking the speed limit trying to get home in time. But poor
I won't
Tasha,
say that.
she texted me. She's like, my phone died. I'm on the way home. You gotta know Tasha. But again, uh, I want to tell you thank you for what you've done, not only for the industry but for me. helping me along with this stuff. And again, people, become involved in your association. We've got good people, and it becomes a little exciting. So take your time to check out your association.
Yes.
Real quick, look next week on Southwest Tow Operators. We're going to do a contest for best heavy duty recovery. We're going to make a post where you can go on and post pictures of your heavy duty recoveries. The one that gets the most likes is going to get one of the new Recovery Alley t-shirts. They're really cool. There it is right there. I don't know who that guy is on the back, but you will win that t-shirt if you get the most likes. So look, I want to say thank you for everybody who came in. Tasha, again, my Wonder Woman. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for fighting for the industry.
Absolutely.
Any closing words for you?
That's it. I want everyone to stay safe out there, as safe as you possibly can be. Educate as many people as you can. To be treated as a professional, we must conduct ourselves as professionals. Stay transparent and stay safe. It's
together we will fight for the industry. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks on Recovery Alley. Everybody stay safe, and God bless, folks.
God bless. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate being on.